I was drafted in Fort Meade, Maryland. It was my station that I was drafted through. And at that time, they were making up this outfit, the Barrage Balloon Battalion. So I passed the test for this sort of thing. And then after that, we were shipped out to Camp Tyson, Tennessee. And down in that part was chosen because there's where the four winds blow, and that's what we had to deal with. And once we were there and were set up, then we had to keep those balloons nose toward the wind 24 hours a day, and the wind change, the velocity changed very often down there, which means as a 24-hour duty. And during down there, we start flying them at an altitude of 400 feet. They were bigger balloons than the one you see now. And due to the electrical storm down in that part of the country, they had an accident with one guy lost his life because the lightning hit the cable. And at that time, we used motorized winches. And he was a winch operator. So after that, then we were forced to reduce our altitude to 200 feet, but we still had the motorized winch until we were done basic training. Then in 10 months' time, we were pronounced at combat ready, which meant that we were moved out into New York and from there overseas to Europe. And once it was in Europe, then we did not have the motorized winch anymore. We had to build our own winch, which we had to, and we have what they call a headquarters battery, which was the one that supplies our needs. Whatever we needed had to come through the headquarters. So they ended up making us a hand winch from communication wire reel, which could hold quite a large number of pounds of winch wire, because our cable was a piano cable, which was very light wire, but it was strong. And we had a braking system that we could leave the breakers automatic would go up and soft, but we had to ease it off in order to not to set the detonator off when we got rid of the height that we wanted. And that's the way it was in action. We went in on the third wave on Normandy Beach. We were set up by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My outfit was the first outfit to set up in our battalion, battery. So then we did not fly them until from dusk to dawn, overnight, all the time, never in the daytime. We had to bed them down in the daytime and still keep the nose into the wind, which we had a 24-hour man radio that always give us the altitude and the direction of the wind. And the purpose of that was for nothing being scrapped on Normandy Beach, which meant men, supplies, and whatever else. We were there when Patton brought his army in. He brought it in at night. And we had those balloons flying, so none of the men, none of his equipment could be scrapped because the balloons, had they come in or attempt to, they would hit one of those cables one way or another. Because the balloon 2,000 feet, some part of most times it was in the clouds. You couldn't see them anyhow. Over there, like a very cloudy altitude over there. So anyhow, just the way it was about us for 68 days on the beach. Then we moved up to a little town. Then we could afford to have tents, but on the beach we could not afford to have tents. We had to have foxholes and whatever. And carefully where you walked around, because they were almost heavily mined in the area. So that's the way it was with us, and like I said, we had to deal with the Royal Air Force, which they said if you keep them up, we'll shoot them down. So that was our duty there for the 68 days, and then later we moved up to Sherbrooke. Before Christmas in that same year. when we got a 30-day delay in leave when we will come back to the States, which ended up a day before Christmas, so they telegraphed us all we could stay home another day with our families. And then we were somewhere back in Georgia for a trip to the South Pacific, which we ended up going to Seattle after a period of time. We ended up going to Seattle, Washington, and boarding the boats there for the convoy for down under. Fortunately or unfortunately, the boat that we was on was one of the boats that was hit during Pearl Harbor attack. And it broke down the sea, and we had to be drugged back for a 2-day dry dock. So then by the time we got to Hawaii for the main Hickey, the convoy had already gone, so we were there waiting for another date. In the meantime, we were pulled into the harbor of Hawaii the day the war ended in Europe. And so we were in Hawaii waiting for another date. In the meantime, in the wait, D-Day came first, which we didn't regret. Well, being able to survive. So that was one of the main things we were all thankful for. Well, because it's a veteran affair thing. And like I said, this is how we went to school under that same issue. I mean, this is why I joined it, because it was an aid to veterans. And not only that, during the World War II time, if you weren't in college and had a job, you was entitled to the job if you did existed when you got back. And that was one of the things that saved me. I couldn't afford to go to high school or college, so I went to work. I worked for the National Trailways in Richmond, Virginia. And until I was drafted, when I was drafted, I come back there, accepted my position. And during the meantime, while I was away, they had changed executive officers or their office. Anyhow, and later, 6 months or so later, they were going through the records and they run across my name and saw that I was a veteran. So they called me in the office and apologized me for their oversight. And they said, now, if you're not satisfied with the hours that you're working, you have the privilege to pick any hours that you want. So I was already going for 62 straight anyhow, so it didn't matter. I said, I'm satisfied with the hours that I have and the way that I'm working. Well, because the aid that they give to veterans that need it, and they will do whatever they can to support you. And if you, like I said, going to school, this is one of the things that they promote is the education of the veterans that want to continue to go to school or whatever else. And that's why I came here, because I wanted to take advantage of my GI educational bill. Oh, well, I mean, done best to try to support these hospitals and give them their due of various things pertaining to medicine. But see, we have an awful lot of veterans that need help. Right now, they got a waiting line, and it shouldn't be. These people serve, they got wounded, they should get immediately, they shouldn't have to wait no 2 or 3 years to get help.